Hi, Malini. I think it's about time for us to get started. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jerry Barrett. I'm one of the people running Women Transforming Technology, and it's my pleasure today to introduce Dr. Malini Bhandaru, who is a senior staff member at VMware and currently leads open source machine learning efforts there. She has over 20 patents granted or applied for and holds a PhD in machine learning from the University of Massachusetts. She will be presenting today on how to understand and optimize your compensation. And may I just say, I've been through this session and I wish I had heard this presentation 20 years ago. So Malini, go ahead and share your presentation and we'll get started.
Okay, can you let me share? Okay, I think we're there. Here we go, share. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here and I'm overwhelmed with the number of attendees. Thank you so much. So without further ado, let me just do this. Go here and say slideshow start. Okay. Can you see? Yes. Okay, so let's understand our compensation and how to optimize it. And you already had my introduction, so we can skip this, saves us a little time. And let's talk about the thorns here. How many of us have asked for a raise? We actually have a poll for this. Jerry, if you can get them to answer the poll. Have you ever asked for a raise? Have you negotiated your salary? Have you felt underpaid? Believe that your work speaks for itself. Now that's a big one, huh? Never
Yes.
believe that.
Yep.
Do you understand your compensation? Have you ever compared offers? Okay, so none of these are easy for any of us. Okay, even for CEOs and VPs and you know the newest kid on the block out of school. So these are thorny issues. And many times companies don't want you to ask each other your compensations. They say you have to keep it private. So it doesn't make it any easy. And many of us have confidence issues. Many of us also don't know what the competitive offers are out there or how much people get paid, let alone in your company and other companies. So these are not easy questions. And we will keep coming back to the point that we have to keep doing research on this, break down some of these barriers, start talking about this because secrets don't help us.
Yes, so I can see the answers. We had 158 responses. 95 want to understand compensation. 75 exploring new jobs. 21 found out their coworkers are paid more, and 56 want a raise.
Okay, so you're in the right place.
Answered,
let's try and help you.
People answered more than once, I can tell.
Okay, so let me try and help you all out here. And you know, it's just as wonderful when you get a new job or that promotion, but it's just as wonderful when you stand up for something you believe in and you get it. That's just as much a success as getting the money, okay? That you stood up for yourself, that you made the case and then you won it, okay? So nuts and bolts of compensation, exactly why we are all here. And it's important to know yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your interests? What are your curiosities? And what are your wins? Okay, you have to remember the wins and how to project them. And if ever I don't get a job that I want or the salary I want, it's my failure. That means I did not sell myself well, okay? Because we all do good work and it's important to project and share that value that you bring. So those are all skills we'll have to develop. So first things first, what's compensation? This is a busy table, but let's spend a few minutes on it, okay? So everything starts with your base pay, and I've highlighted it in pink. So you know now that pink and purple are some of my favorite colors, green and blue too. So your base pay is important. And off of that comes your performance raise. Typically, it'll be like 10% or 25% of your base pay. If you've done well, if you've done exceedingly well, then it's more than that, and so on and so forth. Typically, you also get a bonus, especially if you're in a software kind of technology field, you get a bonus. And the bonus can have two components. It can be an individual component, maybe like 10% of your base pay. And there might be a business group level bonus. So let's say you're in Amazon and maybe you're in the AWS business group and they bring in a lot of revenue. So typically, since they're dealing with more pressure, more deliverables, more product, more solutions, their business group might be compensated more. So the rest of the company gets 10%. Maybe this business group might get 15%, or maybe in these COVID times, it's the retail arm and they're bringing in lots more sales. So maybe their percentage of the total pie will be more. So there's typically a bonus, which is individual and company based. And oftentimes when you join, especially with software companies, you get something called RSUs. These are restricted stock options or stock units. And typically every year also you get some portion, and stock is granted to recognize your potential. It's kind of like golden handcuffs. We want you to stay, and this is what you'll get if you stayed. And they vest at different vesting scales. And this is also very important that you comprehend. Some do it over 5 years, some do it over 4 years, some do it every 6 months. So the handcuff, has different crumbling rates in that case. Especially if it's 6 months, you don't have to wait till the 1 year cliff to decide to switch jobs, etc. And some have unequal vesting, like Amazon has something like 5, 15, and then 40, 40, over a 4-year period. So the first 2 years, you don't get much. So they really want to see if you'll stay and, if you're good enough to keep, and then the vesting happens in serious amounts. Then companies offer 401k match. They might allow you to buy stock options. So why am I going through these? So that when people make you those offer letters and whatever, or say why they, think they giving you a good offer, this is the nuts and bolts of it. You got to track these, write them down, put them in a spreadsheet so you can start comparing. And within a job, you should even say, hey, I've done really well. I should maybe get more stock. And that's how you're going to have to negotiate over here. Another thing, this is really important, maybe not right now with COVID times, is vacation days. Those days have value, monetary value that you don't even have to pay tax on, but it might make a very big difference if you're trying to juggle kids. So how many vacation days do you have? Or is it that lose it or use it? Or is it like unlimited, which is a big iffy because it really doesn't work that way. You still have to do your deliverables. And if you just keep taking vacation, it doesn't help. Then some companies offer you sabbaticals, like after 4 years, maybe you get a month. Others even offer you perks like tuition reimbursement, Pluralsight membership. All of these have value, including free breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and things like that. So with that said, now you have to look at these things when you get offers and compare them and want to improve them and so on and so forth. And with all things on the internet, there's lots of resources out there, and I have listed a few of these. And I wish I had known about levels a few years back. I didn't. And why? Because look at this. This is small print. I apologize, but go to the link. And then let's say you're looking at a few different companies. I know 75 people said they're thinking about new jobs. For each company you're exploring, put it in the levels thing and see how they compare. Let's say you go to a certain company and let's say you're at level 5 in your current company. What does that translate to in the other company? Is it a 6? Is it a 5? Or is it a 12? I mean, they have different numbers. And then maybe you don't want to just stay at that same level 5 equivalent. Maybe you want to go to 6 or 7. So you have to pitch for that. And then don't take an offer that's not what you want. So I found this really useful to see how Google, Amazon, Intel, VMware all match up, how many levels they have. And you'll see that the barrier to go from one level to the other keeps increasing. Like at the Google fellow level, apparently they have only 2 senior fellows. So it's super, super hard the higher you go. Okay, it's totally the pyramid. With that said, let's see what our capabilities are. Let's get to know our own selves. So what are your skills? What are your strengths? What are your interests? Because even as you look in your current job and you're growing, you say, I've always been a technical lead. Do I want to be a manager? It doesn't mean you're committed to being a manager for the rest of your life, but you might want to know what it's like. You might want to explore. Does your current company give you that opportunity? Will they even let you apply for such a position? Or will maybe somebody pull you towards that position saying, give it a try. I think you have these skills. And so it's important to know what you like to do, important to know what you want to do, important to know what your strengths are. Like, are you a fast learner? Are you good at collaboration? Are you good at communication? I mean, whether it's PowerPoint slides, whether it's talking, whether it's email, whether it's the ability to pick up a phone and talk to some other business group or pitch a new sales idea, who knows? So it's things like this that you need to know. And once you know it, that's a strength, because the more you know about yourself, the better you can pitch yourself to another job, another position, explore things. And it's also important to be able to try and comprehend and communicate your strengths in the typical 33-30. The 30-second pitch in the elevator. Hi, I'm Malini and I'm super good at machine learning. No, it's not the truth here. But you should be able to say what you're good at in 30 seconds. What if you had 3 minutes? You can maybe share which projects you're working on or what's the impact of certain work of yours. Maybe you have a whole 30 minutes. Then you can take them through the whole path, how you did something or saw a pain point and solved it. And suddenly, your company revenue increased by a few millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion, who knows? So that's important to be able to communicate within that framework of 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay. And there's always a story. So write down that story, even in your jobs that you've done, keep these. And why do I like those stories? Because tomorrow, when you go to an interview, 5 years after something happens, you might have forgotten the details, but having them written down somewhere where you can retreat, say, there was this problem and it was consuming too much power. And then, something was happening. And this is how I thought. So you lay out the steps of how you logically arrived at it. It's your story. Nobody can steal it. It's not something you read offline and, just shared and made it up as if it's yours. It's the truth kind of seeps through then. Okay. And knowing what made you happy and what made you do what you did, maybe it made many customers happy. Maybe it got some vaccine to some critical facility quickly. And then you were able to communicate to somebody and saying why they must get vaccinated. Everything adds to that credibility of yours when you capture those details. So that's why I say, know thyself, thy skills, thy interests, thy wins. Okay. With that said, let's start looking at what it takes to get a raise. So first and foremost, if you work on a problem that your company is not interested, you'll say, yeah, thank you. All right, whatever. But no, you have to work on a problem that's significant to them. So it behooves you to go and ask, like, what's your biggest pain point? Is it landing customers? Is it solving customer issues? Is it attracting new customers? It is keeping customers. So what is their pain point? Or maybe if you're a cloud company, maybe it's wasted resources. Maybe there are virtual machines running out there. They're called zombies. They're just eating up cycles, power, energy, whatever, not doing anything useful. Nobody's interested in them. And then it's like whack the mole. You might have to get rid of them. And maybe solving that problem might save them on their compute resources, electrical bills, cooling bills, whatever. And that's impacting the company's bottom line. So whichever industry you're in, it's important to first comprehend what their major pain points are. And then you have to try and address them. Now, another very important thing is your manager in all this. Get feedback. How am I doing? What's your pain point? What's the company's pain point? What would you like me to work on? And am I delivering to that target? I can't say I always do it, but I at least try. And we have to keep reinventing ourselves, realigning ourselves to kind of make that happen. And sometimes it's also important to recognize you might want to have that impact and you're working towards it, but it might take some time. Okay. Now, not only do you have to get input from your manager, but it's also useful to ask your peers. Were they stuck on something? Could you help them with something? Or maybe your insight will help them, because this is when you have all that 360 feedback, like so and so is valuable on our team. Maybe she didn't do exactly the work you needed, but she did this that enabled us to be more productive. That's the part about 2 plus 3 is not 5, then it's 6, it's 10, who knows what. That's the amplification factor of your abilities here. Okay, so take input from not only your manager, if possible from your skip level manager, maybe from other peers in your own team and across teams. And that all gives you a better view of yourself and your own abilities and how you can impact others. And sometimes we don't do a good job at our own evaluations of ourselves. So it's useful to ask your peers. I mean, they can be negative ones that might pull you down. So watch out for those, but definitely take them with a grain of salt, ruminate over them, and then see what sticks, what makes sense, and what you can improve. So feedback's super important. And don't feel shy. Maybe you want to do something new, or maybe you want to force yourself to do something new to grow yourself. Okay? Because that leads us to this. When it comes time to asking for your promotion, for your raise, you need to start documenting things. You need to start saying like, hey, I have been responsible for these new features. I have designed this whole new product. I have improved the design by finding some, performance issues or security issues. So you have to document yourself in your contributions and the value you brought. And, these little hexagons here are kind of touching on it from different job perspectives. What if you were customer facing? Did you bring more customers? Did you bring happier customers? Did you ensure better end-to-end sales efforts? Okay. Did you work with cross-functional teams? So this kind of touches on the slew of different job responsibilities we might each have, whether they're product marketing, product management, software engineering, building new businesses, growing your empire, whatever. Okay. So did you take on more risk? Did you bring in more income, more business, everything, and document it and put numbers. Don't just say I did more of something. Did I bring 10% greater business revenue? Did I bring 12% increased customer satisfaction scores? Did I reduce the downtime in a data center or downtime in a tool or on a Tesla production factory type of thing? So quantify things, because data then can help build your case, can support you in this effort to negotiate your raise, more stock, more whatever. Okay. So now that brings us to part 2, where we say, hey, what if you're looking for that job outside your current company? So coming back to what you're interested, what your skills are, what your strengths are, let's say you've been applying to a few different companies, but try and keep it so that they align with what you're interested or what you want to grow in. And in my own career, it's been pretty checkered. I got a PhD in machine learning. It was nearly 20 years ago. And were there lots of machine learning jobs back then? No, there were some pattern recognition jobs. You have some alarms here. How do you reduce the time to resolve these alarms? And I was working for a telephone company back then. Okay, today it's Verizon. But those days were the payphone days, landline days, and we still had cut cables, and you wanted to bring, the customer problem resolution to as low as possible, quickly handle the issues. So we would use spatial and temporal criteria to find where that cable might have been cut or where the storm was and what to deal with, so on and so forth. So with that machine learning background, I couldn't have got just a pure machine learning job back then, because compute was pretty expensive, storage was pretty expensive. It wasn't today's day of lots of data, lots of compute from the cloud, etc. But there were other jobs that were kind of like complementary, interesting, and that's how I would take things. And then I said, okay, I've done some kind of pattern recognition, problem solving. Hey, I haven't done anything in the embedded space. And that was my first IoT job, because I went looking for a job that had like a 50% match to my experience and 50% match of where I wanted to take things next. So when you're looking for a new job, see what makes you happy. Do you want to leverage all the strengths you have and maybe a little change, or you want to do a very big change or a 50-50 kind of change? It kind of helps when it's at least 50-50, because otherwise it's too much new learning. And sometimes even with 50-50, it's every night is a 2 a.m. night. So See what makes you happy, where you want to be, whether you want to stick vertically, horizontally, like a skill set that you apply to a different vertical, but it's the same horizontal slice of it. So see what makes you happy. And now after that, let's say you've decided on a few companies, how best to go about it. Use your network. The best jobs that you get are when it's your network calling out. You say, hey, Malini, there's this job at Intel. Why don't you come and join us, type of thing, or at VMware or whatever. Because then you don't have to prove yourself ground up and you get the interesting job offers. But that doesn't happen easily. I mean, you have to invest in your network, stay in touch with your friends, and then say, hey, do you know anything? So use your other things like your LinkedIn job profiles, stay in touch with your friends. They'll touch base with you if they find something that they have that they want you to come and join and help them. Network is the best way to go. Then if you're very young and still early in your career, it's job fairs, campus interviews. I'm sorry, there are none nowadays in COVID times. It's a little harder, but still the internet is your friend, and social groups are your friends to help you there. And whenever and if ever you get an internship as a young graduate, try and do your best, because many times those internships translate to full-time jobs. Okay, now before we go any further, what are the things that you should not do when you're looking for a job? This is so important. I've done each of these mistakes myself. Okay, if somebody asks you, so how much do you expect? That's a no-no. In the state of California, you're not supposed to ask anybody what their current compensation is. Why? Because if you were traditionally an underpaid person, this kind of reinforces that you'll keep getting underpaid. You got $100, they might offer you $102 now. So it forces you to stay underpaid. So you say, smile, laugh, say, are you making me an offer? And if they're not even started the interview process, that's so lame, but companies do that, mind you. So you say, I would rather like to learn more about the job, understand the responsibilities before I can answer that realistically. Because going back to that previous slide, there we go. Remember, it's all about more features, more customer satisfaction, more risk. How do you tell them how much you deserve to be paid if you don't know what is involved? Okay, were you supposed to land them 2 new customers if you're selling insurance, or 2,000 new customers? And if it's 20,000 customers, you might even have to go to a new geography. So there's a very big difference in responsibility and how you have to scale and work depending on the responsibilities of the job. So deflect respectfully and say, I need more details about the job. Okay. Another thing that they might ask you is like, we don't even know if we have the budget for you. We don't know how much you earn. And this I've seen. Headhunters might come and reach out to you on LinkedIn or otherwise, just because they saw some word like principal engineer or whatever. And that word principal engineer can mean very different things in very different companies. At a company like VMware, that's one of those high exalted positions. Very few people in the company even have that title. But at another company like maybe Dell or something else, it might be something that you get into maybe 3-4 years into your career, or a title like senior. So it really, really is very different in different companies. And that's where that level site helps you to determine what this term, this title on this level means at another company. If you're still forced and nudged to give a salary expectation, start with a range. Okay. And whatever you earn right now, add a healthy amount, 20% or plus, especially if you feel you're underpaid, maybe even more, and start with that range and say, this is kind of where I'm looking at. Okay. So if there's going to be shocked, it's good they get shocked sooner than later. And I've given one link here, if you get the slides later on, for some good scripts to handle these sort of thorny questions. There's always thorns everywhere. Okay. And then another very, very important thing that I learned from my manager and from a book that he read, and then I started reading because he recommended it, is when you do get that offer, don't gush. Say, oh, I'm so grateful and I really wanted to work here and thank you so much. Because they say, oh my God, we overpay this person. The best thing you can do for yourself is pause. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 30, 1,000, whatever, at least for 30 seconds, and let the pin drop, the mic drop, whatever, and take notes. Scribble away. How much did you say my base offer was? And how much is the stock option? Take detailed notes and let them kind of ruminate, because it's been a long journey for them and for you to interview, go through all those steps, and for them to interview you and all the other candidates. So there's a lot riding on this. And this is a point of congratulations where you say, I've got it to this stage. And
Malini, it's Jerry. I just need to let you know we're actually out of time.
Okay.
So can we wrap up? Sorry.
Yeah. So this last one, there's a link at the bottom where I want you to go ahead, and there's a spreadsheet there. I'm not even going to change the slide, but you can enter your details so that you can compare from one company to the other. Remember to factor in the price of the stock and how you expect it to grow. But that spreadsheet's really useful. And last but not least, if you get a low offer, these are some tips on how you might negotiate to improve it. Like, could you maybe give me more vacation? Could you give me some mid-year evaluation? But point out that you really like that job, and this is why you're even having this conversation. If it doesn't work out, no harm. And be proud of yourself for having got those offers and for negotiating and standing up for yourself. Congratulate yourself. And as all things, you have to evaluate and balance stuff. I hope from the spreadsheet, you'll get some useful tips. And I think that was one of the best lessons I learned on how to compare offers. Thank you.
Thank you, Malini. Malini, may I make a suggestion? Everybody's going nuts for your presentation. Could you join people perhaps in communities somewhere?
Yes,
would you like to set up a meetup? Did you set up a meetup?
I don't think I did.
Oh, okay, well, you can go in and create one and maybe meet with everyone at 4 o'clock if they have more questions for you.
I'd love to do that. So
okay.
Catch you all at 4 o'clock, and I'll
Thank
put some
you.
link there.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.